Hi, everyone, and welcome to an A and B Horror Movies video. I'm Aaron,
Ben.
and today we are very excited to be joined by Carmelo Chimera. Carmelo, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me
Coming
today.
on.
Yeah, this is going to be great. We can't wait to chat with you about your new film, Name the Demon, a found footage horror about a possession and exorcism in real time. So, congrats on your new film.
Honestly, I've seen those kids with legends.
Ben, I'll turn it over to you for the first question.
Right. Just cheers for coming on again. And I actually didn't get to watch it till last night, so it's quite fresh. I didn't get to watch it last.
Oh, good.
So I suppose the first question would be, why a found footage movie?
Why a found footage movie?
Yeah, why
That's a
why
great that yeah, that's because I love found footage movies. I eat them up, and so does Danny Bonin, my producing partner and frequent collaborater. I love Grave Encounters and Paranormal Activity and Hell House Else. I just love them. And we're working on a couple much larger projects, and those just take a long time to get that kind of financing together. And so we were kind of frustrated with how long it was taking, and we were coming off the high of our last movie, Sin Eater, and it was one of those like we should open a bar conversations. We were in a hot tub smoking cigars, having whiskey, and we're like, we should do a found footage movie. And then just I sat down with my brother and just wrote it in like 3 days, and we're like, here's the movie. And that's why. So yeah, found footage I love because it breaks down the wall between reality and fiction, right? There's this magic moment that, like, I'm like a rational person, but even I sometimes will watch a found footage movie, and for just 1 second, I'll be like, "This is a movie, right? This is fake, right?" And that's magical to me. That 1 second where I doubt reality, that's why I love found footage.
Oh,
cool.
yes, awesome. That's a great,
Okay.
great
I
answer.
say I prefer found footage horror um over than
No.
no. Well, saying that there are classics,
Mm.
but found footage is a really good way of delivering horror, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If it's done well, I mean, I love that subgenre as well. Like Paranormal Activity, right? The end is says they still haven't found what is it, Katie and Mika? They still haven't found them. Um, my question for you is, since it is a found footage, you have a really nice twist by making it a real-time found footage exorcism.
Thank you.
What were the challenges of making that? Because I imagine there's a lot of pieces that have to come together to make it feel like it flows in real time.
Yeah, absolutely there are. And that was, I think that's why part of the reason why we did it, one of the many reasons, was for the challenge of it, because we wanted to do something that was different that I hadn't quite seen before in found footage. And so it just required a lot of rehearsal and a lot of blocking. The movie was shot in my home, so I had access to the set. And that's why we ultimately chose my home, was so that I could have access weeks and weeks in advance. And I went through with the camera and blocked everything out with my brother, my co-director Nicholas, and with our producer Jason Chawala. And we would like go through each scene, and we practiced the camera movements, and we practiced the blocking and rehearsed everything like a bank robbery, because I only had 7 shooting days because I had to fly people in from LA, and people from Colorado came in. So like I had to be ready to go. I only had those 7 days. You don't have the luxury with indie horror of going over budget or over schedule. My movies are
Mm-hmm.
always on time, always on, like, 8 hour days. No one works overtime. I'm like clockwork. And so, which is unheard of really in indie horror. And that's because of the rehearsal. Uh, and the other challenge of it is frankly just getting really long takes. So the movie does have hidden cuts, but what sells the hidden cuts, besides the perfect editing from Jason Potter, what sells it is that there really are some very long takes. The first opening of the movie is 11 minutes uninterrupted. Maybe it's 14 minutes, something like that. And
Wow.
that took, you know what it was? It was 11 minutes, 14 takes. We did it for 8 hours. We did 11 minutes, and every line has to be perfect. And there was a dog in the scene, and there was a special effect in the scene with like the floating legs. So like getting all that right was really, really hard. And it took all night. I almost gave up, but Nicholas insisted with me that if we had an authentic 11-minute cut at the beginning, then the hidden cuts would be easier to buy later. People would meet us halfway with that. And so he was right. And that was really the challenging part, is getting those really long takes and all that dialogue.
Well, I
Cool.
can imagine. I think it scripted, right? I mean, that's a huge challenge. And Ben, before you jump in, I've got to say, so you filmed it in your home. Does that mean you're on set right now as we
I
talk
am.
to you?
Yes. There's a scene in the movie that takes place in this very room, actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's neat. I still don't go up to the
Cool.
third floor anymore. It's a wee bit haunted.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. That's a good choice. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Ben.
Can I ask you? You said you read it down, got ready to go. Did it change much from what you'd read to what was put on the screen? Did you add
That's a great
extra?
question. Yeah, great question. And the short answer is no. I actually encouraged the actors to take a certain amount of liberty to ad lib, but they were all adamant and consummate professionals and memorized that script, word for word. And the because of indie horror being what it is, and because I was the co-writer and the co-director, and I was doing both sides of it, there wasn't anything that I got that cut out, right? I didn't write anything extra, because you don't have the budget to waste anything. You can't shoot scenes and have deleted scenes or anything. If it was deleted, I deleted it at the script stage. I didn't film anything we didn't need, and so the script very much matches the movie. The only thing that we couldn't quite capture in the script that I think came out good in the movie is the dialogue delivery is, to me, very naturally delivered. Very few people speak in perfect, eloquent speeches, myself excluded, obviously, but normal people look for words and they stammer and so forth. Scotty Bonin, who plays Father Lucas, has this great natural cadence to his speech that I love, where when he gets nervous, he kind of stammers. That comes out so great. And, that to me made it more authentic, right? It was like, people don't just know everything they're going to say before they say it. So you can't write a lot of ums or things like that into your script. You don't write a lot of searching for words in parentheticals. That just kind of came out as they were trying to remember so much dialogue. And, we did several takes. We did some takes where they were even cleaner sometimes. And I didn't like it as much as these like panicky idiots trying to like figure out what they were trying to say to each other.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Um, I have to ask about, there's this one terrifying element for those who haven't seen it. There's this little toy that lights up, and it appears throughout the film and takes me back to those days when you had toys like that. It's like, oh my God, how do you turn it off? Just take the batteries out. Um, how did that come about? How did you find this toy? Because I've never seen it. Um, and how did you work that into the film?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't remember the genesis of the toy idea, but we knew we wanted that, like, that moment where she's sneaking up behind him and the noise is really loud, and that song Ring Around the Rosie, this is somewhat spoilerish, but that song is about like children dying from the plague, so I thought there was like a creepy foreshadowing thing going on with that. But the toy itself, I just went to Target and I was like, something that a little girl would have, something that makes noise, and something that was big. I wanted to have some heft, because Father Lucas takes it on the chin at one point and gets this great gash in his head from getting whacked with it, so it needed some weight. And when I found that the pony, I was able to like we messed with it a little just to avoid any copyright or trademark infringement, right? So like I repainted parts of it and I took parts of it off, which is actually a hobby of mine, is like messing with toys. So and then we pulled out the sound from it. So like we wanted it to light up, but I pulled out the speaker so that it couldn't make its own noise, because then we could more easily dub over it with the song I wanted. So yeah, so that was a fun prop. Actually, there was a small hunt at the toy store for it, and that's what I was looking for: something hefty and something that looked like it could be loud, and something that a little girl would play with. And actually, she kept it. Isabel Pastori, who played Grace, she at the end she was like, "Can I keep the pony?" And
Oh, that's
given that we
awesome.
traumatized her for life, I thought it was only fair.
It must have been fun hunting for that. And great choice. I think it worked really well.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that landed.
Congrats there. Yeah.
Um, there was lots of snippets in this of movements in the background, um, noises, screaming, which was cool, all added, creepy. It's kind of a spoiler. I noticed at the start when the priests come up to the house and he starts filming,
Mhm.
actually somebody in the window at the top,
Yes, yes, there is.
which I thought was really cool. And that was kind of my favorite creepy part, like little sort of
Thank you.
in the corner of your eye, I want to call it, sort of glimpse. I just wondered if you had a favorite part in the movie that was like that kind of background noise or something that you had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you noticed that stuff because sometimes when you're making it, you're almost like, is anyone going to see this kind of thing? And
I
so
rewound it. I'm
it's
sure.
that makes me really happy because to me that's the scariest thing in any horror movie, more than like jump scares. And this movie basically does this over and over again in some version or another of there's something behind you. There's something behind you scares the crap out of me way more than jump scares. And so those little things in the background, that's all versions of it. I think my favorite part of the movie in that sense is when Jason Potter, who plays Deacon John Andrews, he's washing his face in the bathroom, and Jessie Nerud is playing Anna. She's in the shower, and he leans in front of the mirror and he washes his face, and when he leans back, she's gone. And I thought that worked exactly like I envisioned it. There was a lot of blocking involved with positioning the mirror and stuff. And that worked out exactly like I envisioned it. So I think that's my favorite, scare in the movie is that she's right there, she's right behind you. So I like,
Yeah.
And then she's
Oh,
gone.
nice.
That is a great moment. You mentioned Jessie Nerud, who plays Anna, who is the possessed wife.
yes.
Um, Gosh, she was fantastic. How difficult was it for her, and I guess for you as a director, for her to appear so possessed? I mean, yikes! It's pretty shocking.
Yeah, and I've said before and I'll say again, Jessie's like my muse. When I first met Jessie and you meet her in person, she's just so charming and charismatic and like just like quirky and you really just want to she just has this magnetism about her and I wrote Sin Eater after I met her because I had her in mind. I was like I can see her doing this part. And there was no question with this movie that we needed her for Anna because she is far and away the best actress I've ever known in person. She's just spectacular. And for all the cool little moments and all the cool little things we do in the movie that I'm proud of, she carries this movie with her performance because she's the core of it. If she were not believable, if she were not scary, it doesn't matter how many practical effects or how many, cool camera tricks I used. There's no way it would have been any good. So I admit fully, she carries this film with her performance. It was hard because it's a combination of effects and her work. So the credit goes to her for her incredible acting skill and to Joe
Hmm.
Castro, our amazing special effects designer, who is like a legend in indie horror and also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He has a cameo in the movie as Father Marcus at the beginning.
Yes, in
Uh,
the beginning, yeah. Mhm.
he's just terrific. And every day he had to airbrush her into makeup. I mean, like head to toe because she's like in this little nightgown, so you can see most of her. And so he had to get all the way up her legs and all the way up her arms. She's almost totally head to toe. And then he had to wash her off with alcohol at the end of every night. So like her poor girl's like skin was drying out and stuff by the end of it. So it's a lot of heavy make. Even before she gets the big prosthetics like the face scarring and stuff like that, she's just like painted head to toe. Oh, and the worst part, I joke that she's like my Bruce Campbell because I'm always torturing her in my movies the way Sam Raimi likes to torture Bruce. She had to have like fucked up. Sorry, can I swear on this podcast?
Sure.
Yeah.
Beep.
Maybe you can bleep that
Go ahead.
out. She
Yeah,
had
no,
these
it's cool.
messed up teeth because Joe Castro was like, it doesn't make sense for possessed people to look like crap and have white teeth. You got to mess her teeth up. So he had this like ink spray, but it goes away pretty quick in your saliva. So we had to spray it right before we shot. And I didn't know what I was doing. So one time I had to spray her and she got a mouthful of ink and she was so mad at me and I deservedly so. But I think she carried that energy into the performance. You can really feel how much she dislikes me at that point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
Um, Go ahead, man.
I've got to ask. There is snow in this movie.
Yes.
I take it it's real snow,
Oh yeah, it
which,
is. Yes.
which I was happy about because you get a lot of films with snow and it's fake, and you can see it's fake. Did you choose to shoot at that time of year for the snow, or was it just it landed?
This is a great
Top?
question. It's a great question. And the short answer is yes, we did want the snow. It's something Danny and I both love is cold isolation. We love that
Yeah.
The Thing. This movie, was it called We Are Still Here with Barbara Compton? That's also really creepy. These kind of like isolated cold movies are very creepy, and it makes you feel very kind of helpless and alone. And so I love that. It's also just kind of mirrors for me the sort of unfeeling cruelty of the world in this horrible setting, is like all these horrible things happening to these people, and it's like the world doesn't care. It just keeps snowing on, and it's cold, and it covers everything. Some of picking January, we shot in January, and some of picking that was scheduling, like everyone's schedule lined up. But we could have punted it to May or June. We could have said we're all gonna get together in May or June. But I wanted it cold, And in fact, at one point, I almost the snow, I should tell you, by the way, the snow is 100% real, and it is a happy accident that it was snowing when we did the exterior shots, because we did everything chronologically, and it just happened to snow that day, and you get just a little bit of that in front of the camera. And when on a indie project, I can't control the weather the way you could on a big budget picture. So that's what makes indie filmmaking so cool, is these little happy accidents that turn into these beautiful moments that you can't engineer the way you could with a multi-million dollar budget, where I could get snow machines and I could make it do that. Some of it's an accident that way. But the last thing about the setting was I almost shot it, or I almost made the movie a Valentine's Day movie. I almost like decorated the house with Valentine's Day shit. And ultimately I didn't buy that they would have decorated under this like horrible condition. So I didn't. But the demon's the demon of lust, and that's a theme with all the characters. So I thought maybe if there was this like sub theme of, and it's Valentine's Day, would have kind of compounded that. But it didn't make sense that they would decorate. And I almost made it a Christmas movie, because we shot right after Christmas. So I almost left all my Christmas shit up and made it Christmassy, which I thought would have been scary. But ultimately it took away from, like, the house looked too cluttered. It didn't look as like bare and cold.
Yeah, it does look bare and sparse, and I think that adds to it.
Well, I thought it added anyway. The snow, your house, awesome with the snow. I actually watched the film with my partner, and I said, "This house is amazing." I thought it was such a cool house. So, you have an amazing house, by the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very old, so it's got a lot of rooms, a lot of small rooms, a lot of nooks and crannies. It was really ideal for this kind of a thing, and we could do that whole sequence in the basement and come out the back end and come around again. So it's nice for that purpose. Yeah,
it was such a good shot. I will say, when the priest turned out, it was a really awesome shot. So well done for that.
Thank you very much.
Very scary. Even the stairwell is scary. Perfect setting. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You must be scared in there at night. The entire house now. So I'm not going to give anything away, but the ending has a bit of a twist, a shocking twist, I guess I would say. Did you, when you were writing and had a vision for the film, was the ending always set and then you sort of built up to the ending, or did you have a good setup and then you had to decide what the ending is? And did that ending change multiple times?
Yeah, that's a great question. The short answer is the ending was where I started. I asked from the beginning, what's the scariest thing I can think of? What's the worst thing I could think of? And are we doing spoilers, or should I avoid spoilers, you think, for folks?
Totally up to you.
Up to me. I'll avoid spoilers. But anyways, I asked myself, like, what's the worst thing I could think of? And I worked backward from there. My last movie, Sin Eater, was more of a psychological thriller. And while technically a very good looking movie, I think if you looked at it, it would look like the budget was maybe 10 times what we had. The criticism I got was, well, it wasn't very scary. It was very like tense, but it wasn't scary. And I thought, like, I've reviewed over 300 horror movies for the Cult Classic Horror Show podcast. I know what horror is. I will give you horror. And so I started with that and worked backward. I think it was my brother, though. Let's just do spoilers. So I thought, if you want to watch the movie, press pause on this podcast, go watch it on Amazon, leave me a review, please, and then come back and finish this, and I'll tell you what happens. So
perfect.
I thought killing the little girl on screen, that would be the scariest thing I could do. Is like murdering a child. That's about as bad as it gets in a horror movie. So let's do that. And then Nicholas introduced the idea that it was Father Matthews who abused Anna as a child. Right? Originally, it was that she had had this abuse from Catholic priests, and then he had the rather brilliant idea that like, no, this is the same priest, and then that only works without being just an unbelievable coincidence. It only works if the demon orchestrates this on
The
purpose to
whole
bring
thing.
this
Yeah.
specific guy there, and
Mhm.
otherwise it's contrived. And so the script that's how it happened. It was like, well, if that happened, then this must happen. And so the movie grows out of that ending. Um, you know, I think the last like 2-3 minutes, I think is fantastic. Credit to Jason
Mhm.
Chawala, our producer, for the battery, which gives the ticking time bomb toward the ending, which I love, is that, the movie ends when the battery dies. And also to keep the mystery of Grace alive. So, Jason is like, from the beginning was like, we're going to do a sequel. And I was like, there's no universe where I do a sequel to this movie. But he's like, no, we're going to do a sequel. You got to have her sit up. And so we're like, all right, well, then I
Yeah.
want this like uncomfortably long pause. I want it to look like the movie's over. Why am I still watching? And then just that one sudden thing at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did have that ending in mind from the beginning. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. And I will say that countdown that starts right in the very beginning with the battery running out, and
Yeah.
very effective. A really nice
Oh, thank
technique.
you. Yeah. Jason
Um,
introduces that to every script that we do. He's very good about tuning up scripts, and he's like, "You got to have the ticking time bomb."
yes.
And if you think about any of the best movies, there's always some time tension. There's a big dance coming up.
Hmm.
The big game is coming up. The contest is going to end. Whatever the hell it is, there's something that's driving the story time wise. And the battery made
Yes.
sense because for me, I wanted this found footage to be real. And so, what's more real than we turn on the camera, then we turn off the camera. There's no editing. There's no who came up with this footage, who cleaned up this footage. All those, why are they still recording? Like for found footage to work, you've got to get all those right. And it being a continuous real
Hmm.
time take to me solved that problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of it kind of fits as well how fast, in a way, that the battery does run out, because a lot of people, if you watch paranormal programs, they always say, "Oh, it's suck the battery life," or "This is run out." So it worked really well with that. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
because you
much.
could see it going down from 100 right from the beginning. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I've got to ask, um, as you just said, what happens at the end? Is that a cliffhanger for another script, or have you not thought about that?
Yeah. So at the time we did it, it was just for the scary ending. And it didn't even occur to me to consider a sequel because we've got several other movies in development that are unrelated. My movies have a connecting theme, even if they're not sequels. That I love this like Seven Nights of Hell and the Seven Deadly Sins. So each thing I do loosely is themed after one of the seven deadly sins and one of the seven kings of hell.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Sin Eater was
awesome.
Azazel and Gluttony. This was Asmodeus and Lust. But so there's like a spiritual sequel planned in that series. However, at the Chicago screening, which was a sold out screening, 130 people came to see it, and most of them
Oh,
strangers
cool.
to me. And people started asking about a sequel. So if it does well, which we won't know till we start getting like revenue in January, or if we sell a few more territories. We've already sold like Latin America, and I'm talking to someone about a theatrical run right now. So and we're going to do a Kickstarter for the Blu-ray release as well. So if some of these
Oh,
things go
yes.
well, I'll do a sequel. I have one in mind. I thought of something worse than killing a little girl on screen. And once I did, I was like, actually, I could do a sequel because I could do this. So yes, I have one in
Oh,
mind. It would involve the hunt for Grace, and it would have a twist. I have ways to bring back some of the old characters, but also there'd be a new story. And I thought the thing that would make it feel like a sequel is it would once again would have to be one shot, real time. I think that's like
of
the
course.
essence of what made Name the Demon special. So it would be the same story, but the thing that to me is really important is, and not just making just a knockoff. I'd have to do that again, and I'd have to do it in a different
Mm,
setting where it's harder. So,
yeah.
we'd find Grace would catch up with her at some orphanage, where she's been living as a Jane Doe, and there's some sinister goings on, and we'd have this like cavernous building we could do this in. So,
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great.
yeah,
Count us in.
thank you.
Um, Before I forget, I have to ask you. So, Sin Eater was your first film, first feature length film,
That's right.
and Bill Moseley was in it, the horror
Yes.
legend. What was it like working with Bill?
Bill is the best, and we're still friends. I see him every time he comes to Chicago. You know, we text on the holidays. He's uh, it's not 100% yet, but you know, I've already spoken to his agent about our next film, so I think we're going to get him back as well, which is very exciting. Um, Bill is far and away like I think he might be the best actor in indie horror. I mean, I love, you know, Robert Englund is fun as Freddy Krueger, and Bruce Campbell is the goat, and he's just his whole shtick is just the best. I love it. But like Moseley's like a really good actor. He is really, really good. And he did not, I'll tell you what, on a 1 day shoot for a you know, low budget horror film, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know him personally before this. So I thought he'll phone it in, or, you know, maybe he won't know his lines, or, I mean, freaking even Marlon Brando used cue cards on Superman, the movie. Right. But Bill like read that whole script, not just his scenes. He read my whole script cover to cover. He came with research. He came with notes. He came with, actually, I think it might be better like this, or what if I tried that? To call him a professional doesn't even do justice. He's just terrific to work with. He's a nice man. His wife Lucinda is a wonderful woman. They're just like warm, kind people. He is the exact opposite of Otis Firefly from House of a Thousand
Yes.
Corpses. It's just
Yes.
it's crazy to me that that man, that nice man, can call up so much evil and cruelty. I don't know how he does it. It's incredible. So I just can't say enough nice things about Bill Moseley.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Um, I'm just going to say, actually, quickly, you're saying about editing and everything. Obviously, one of the biggest selling point of any movie is the trailer, and I've got to say, the trailer was pretty good for this film.
Thank you. Jason Potter, the editor of the movie, also edited the trailer. And, you know, we debated, this is a real problem, right? It's like, how much do you give away in the trailer? And you don't
Mhm.
want to give away the best stuff. But the problem is with indie horror, you have to stand above the pack somehow. There's a lot of horror out there. There's a lot of good horror out there too. And you don't know who I am yet, right? So it's like, well, you don't know the players, you don't know who I am. I got to sell you on this movie. So we decided to hold nothing back. And a lot of it's quick, but we made that trailer like, this is the best we've got. Come see the movie, because we knew otherwise no one's going to see it. So what good is it to hide the ball on anything? So we just went all out for the trailer.
But there was the bit with the
Yeah.
toy, and every time the priest moves out of the way, she's getting closer in the background. Now that was pretty good, because when it come to the film,
Mhm.
I was like, "There's something else here that wasn't in that trailer that's going to get you," and it left you waiting. Which I won't say anymore because I won't spoil it for anyone. But it was pretty good,
Thank you.
intention wise, I'd say. Yeah. So
Oh,
Oh
that
yeah.
makes me really happy to hear that. You know, that's one
Yeah.
of those moments that like I know what horror is. I know what makes horror work. The problem is when you make it yourself and you're doing the timing. Like, you know, I'm doing that scene. I'm calling out the blocking. I'm like, okay, move forward 2 steps. Okay, move forward 2 steps. So it's not scary to me anymore. So it's like a joke that you don't know if it's funny until people laugh at it. But I've gotten from that scene, I've got a lot of great reactions. There were like trailer reactions all over Instagram and TikTok of people like freaking out at that part. And so that's really encouraging, because like it's just a weird thing to know something is scary, but not be scared of it. And I can't know if it worked until you're scared. So that's very helpful to hear.
Very cool. I've got two fun questions before we get into this or that. Um, what is your favorite? You mentioned you love found footage. What would you say is your favorite found footage horror? And my follow-up to that is, now that you've done a horror thriller and a found footage film, what other horror subgenres would you like to try out, or are you
Those are
planning to
fun.
try out?
Those are fun
I hope
questions.
they're fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think for my, you know, it might be like try that Paranormal Activity. The first one is one of, if not the best found footage horror
Mhm.
movies, you know, but I want to give it to, and I mentioned it once before, I want to give it to Grave Encounters. I love Grave Encounters. The feeling of being
It's good.
trapped in this asylum that will not let you out, just just awesome, just terrifying. The walls move, the stairs move. It's hopeless. It's absolutely hopeless. So that scares the bejesus out of me. Honorable mention to Butterfly Kisses, by the way.
That's good
the
too.
Director Eric Christopher Myers, who passed away sadly. I just give him
Oh yeah,
he was,
great.
but I
How
knew
about
him briefly, but
how about the fear foot? Yeah, that's very sad. I didn't realize.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying. Go ahead.
The Fear Footage trilogy. Have you seen the Fear Footage films?
You know what? I've not. They're on my list. I've got to see those.
You've got to watch. So you mentioned the Grave Encounters where they're trapped and things change. He does it so well in the Fear Footage films.
Really? Oh, I'll check it out.
Opens doors and he thinks it's going to take him outside, but it brings him back into another room. It's terrifying. I'm getting
so
chills.
scary.
I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Right.
Have you ever seen, which I always say this was the original fan footage. Have you ever seen Ghost Watch?
No, I've not.
It was there's a copy. It was a British thing, and it was aired on.
Talk about Ghost Watch. Yeah.
That looks neat.
TV in the UK on Halloween night, and it was the bloke that was the host was Michael Parkinson, and he was a really famous, like, he had his own show interviewing people, so everybody trusted him.
Yeah,
and it was obviously made up, and it was like a house, kind of like the Enfield Poltergeist, but it was all made up, and they had like a real BBC camera crew going around the house, and these things were happening. So good. And it was like the scariest thing I ever remember.
And what year was that, Ben? It was 93, 92?
93 or something.
Ben turned me on to this too, and it terrified the entire country, like the UK, and Ben didn't sleep for 4 days. He saw it live and thought it was real.
That's incredible. That's like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast. Holy smokes.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to check
everybody that was in it is like well-known. There was a TV presenter that was for kids TV presenter, and there was another person who was in like a sitcom, and everybody knew them as being like sort of truthful people if you met them. Right. And then it was so good.
My God, I love the sound of that. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's great. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. That the way they fooled you in 1993 was probably easier to do without the internet. That's the found footage magic.
It's so good, yeah. Well, if you get the time, you should definitely.
Yeah, it's good. And think about it airing live on TV and people tuning in at like a Sunday night special or something. And Ben, wasn't there
No, they put a lot like a phone line up that you could ring if you saw something. So on the screen, they were you to see like a ghost in the background. So people were ringing in this number, which actually wasn't real. And it was saying, when you was ringing from home, it was saying the lines are busy. But then they had pre-recorded people who'd rung up saying, I could see such and such in the background. So when they rewound the footage, it was a different take, and they'd taken the ghost out, and you was like, but I see that. And then you couldn't, it was so good.
That's so good. Yes, that's so good. To make it interactive, that even like faux interactive like that, and still, that would be fantastic. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, people were terrified. And they never aired it again. Yeah.
No, it was
the BBC never aired it again.
I got to see this now.
It scared that many people in the UK that they banned it from ever being played on TV again.
I've got small hopes that this movie gets me excommunicated from the Catholic Church. That's the kind of feeling I want, is like banned from TV. Like, some people in my hometown has found out about this movie, and it's only a matter of time before the priests watch it. So I'm kind of hoping that I too get banned, so that it would really help my ratings with this movie a lot.
Well, I wanted to show this. I mean, speaking of fear footage, and you said we might get a Blu-ray of Name the Demon.
Yeah.
Ricky Umberger did an amazing job. Look, it's like in an evidence bag.
That's super cool.
If you guys could do something cool like that, yeah, for sure. And then the second part of my question is there a subgenre you wanted to cover, and then we'll do this or that.
Yeah, so there are many, but the one I'm doing next, which I guess makes it the one I want to do most. The one I'm doing next is a meta horror slasher comedy. So like maybe not comedy, maybe like something along the lines of like a Scream. Like I love slasher movies, but I think making them meta in some way is the way to make them relevant again, because it's hard to do something new in slasher, though In a Violent Nature is a fantastic film that does something new. And even that though is meta, because it requires you to kind of understand what a slasher movie is for it to work. But I want to do that. So the next movie we're doing is called Director's Cut, and it's a period piece about a slasher film in the 80s. So something that's going to be kind of, a little bit more fun horror. It'll still be hopefully pretty scary at parts, but something that's not as bleak as Name the Demon. I really want to do that. And I have a great script.
Cool.
We're working on funding right now for a horror Western comedy. So I really want to do, it's Evil Dead 2 in a saloon. It's called Blood Rush. And, we're working on funding that. So, yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Well, keep us updated. Yeah, this has been great. We'll definitely have you on again, maybe for your future films, if you're willing. Let's do this or that. We always have fun with these. We just throw out two things, just pick one or the other. The first one's kind of funny. The Exorcist 1 or Exorcist Part 2?
Exorcist 1, please.
Kind of
would you like this bowl of ice cream or would you like this bowl of dog shit? I don't know. Yeah. Ice cream, I'll take this.
Yeah, we had a good laugh in that one.
Good choice.
Go ahead, Ben.
Boiled or fried egg?
I'm sorry?
A boiled or fried egg?
Oh, fried. Yeah.
Oh, back to me.
Good,
good choice.
Good. I like this. The food question. That's good.
Yeah, we got a couple. We might have a few more food ones. Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity?
Paranormal Activity.
Good choice.
Okay.
Cave diving or skydiving?
Skydiving. I'm going to swear again now. Get ready to bleep.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever done it?
Fuck that shit.
The Descent, right? The Descent comes to mind.
The Descent scares the crap out of me. As Above, So Below scares the crap out of me.
Oh gosh, yes.
They're great movies. You ain't ever seeing me in a cave. No.
Yeah,
I'm
could never do
6'1".
it.
I'm 230 pounds. No, not happening.
Nope. I'm with you on that. Let's see. Night of the Creeps or Slither?
Ooh, Night at the Creeps because of Tom Atkins,
Yeah,
who recently called me a jagoff. So that was a treat.
That's fantastic.
Halloween or Christmas?
Halloween. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. Never have to sleep again or never have to eat again?
Never have to sleep again. I live to eat. I love eating. It's like my favorite part of the day.
Go with that too. And think about all the extra time you would have if you could just stay up 24 hours.
It's true. Yeah. If I didn't have to, I could just
get so much done.
Yeah.
Subtitle or dub?
Subtitles for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Chill by yourself or go to a massive party?
Ooh, party. Yeah.
Choice.
Absolutely.
Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead?
Ooh, tough one. I'm gonna go Night of the Living Dead. It's scarier to me than Dawn of the Dead, which I love Dawn of the Dead. But
do you like the 1990 remake, the VHS remake
with our buddy Bill? Yep, and Tony.
Of course, it deserves more attention. Let's see, The Last Exorcism or The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
This is the hardest one you've asked me. Those two movies are both spectacular.
Fantastic.
That's actually one of those are my favorite. Those are one of my favorite films.
Is that right? Yeah, I don't blame you. They're both terrific. But I'm gonna just in terms of which one scared me more, I'm gonna go with Last Exorcism. That movie was really terrifying to me.
Terrifying,
but
yes.
Either of those are fantastic watches. Absolutely.
What would you pick, Ben? I should know this. I don't think.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I just thought it was great.
Okay.
The way it was told from the court case, and it was like this is true, but then a scientific sort of side to it. I just thought that was brilliant. And you can't be old. It was based on a true story. So
right.
Yes.
Yeah. 13 Ghosts or House on the Haunted Hill?
Ooh, 13 Ghosts. Yeah, I love the designs of the different ghosts and
me too.
Tony Shalhoub, right? Like I love that. That's
And each one of those ghosts could have their own spin-off films, I think.
Yeah, people have been saying it for years. No one's jumped on that, but my God, I think it writes itself. And now, like technology's caught up to that idea, and now you could do a 13 episode Netflix series on the ghosts.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing,
right? Like that would have been when that movie came out. There was no way to deliver that story to us. Now that's how all stories are delivered. So why not?
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Okay, last one. Halloween 78 or Jaws?
Halloween 78. Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. But you know what? They're both. Oh no!
Oh, the Halloween.
I feel like I chose.
Aaron's very happy because to be honest, I'm happy for Aaron because like I think it's 90% of the people have chose Jaws, but I'm not too sure if it's because it's.
I think it's because you have it right there in the back.
Subconsciously. I was just watching 101 Scariest Movie Moments on Shudder, and what's hilarious is Halloween and Jaws are almost back to back on there. And in Jaws, they're like, a modern reading of Jaws is that it's a slasher film. And then they get to Halloween and they're like, Michael Myers is like the shark from Jaws. It's like, it's actually kind of weird how much they have to do with each other. If I can leave you with one last Easter egg from Name the Demon, though, that has to do with Jaws. I don't know if you guys caught this or if you know this story, but there was this like rivalry between filmmakers in the 70s. And so in the movie, The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven has a poster of Jaws ripped in half as if to say that was the scariest movie. Now it's Hills Have Eyes. And then Sam Raimi does it in Evil Dead. There's a ripped up Hills Have Eyes poster, right? So I wanted my little nod to this battle. So Grace, when she first appears, is holding a stuffed shark. And that's my little nod. So I took my nod.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very cool. Well, Carmelo, thank you so much for joining us today. How can folks find you on social media, and how can they watch your film Name the Demon?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Carmelo Chimera. Chimera Studios is probably what you want to follow. There's a Name the Demon accounts on both as well. We're on TikTok, but I'm not cool enough to use it, so you won't be interacting with me on TikTok. But Instagram or Facebook is great. You can watch Name the Demon on Amazon. Actually would help us a lot right now. It's free with ads on Tubi, but we're trying to get reviews on Amazon. It helps us reach a much larger audience. So if you'd watch it there and leave a review, that'd be a huge help to us. And I also will be launching the Kickstarter for the Blu-ray at the end of October. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Awesome. Well, keep us updated. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been fantastic. Congrats on your film. And Ben, do you want to do the closing?
Go to Instagram, follow us over there, A&B Horror Movies. And if you already follow us on YouTube, thank you. If not, hit the likes, subscribe, because it helps us out. And cheers for watching.
All right, awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, guys. This was great.